Top 5 beaches in Los Angeles. But wait, aren't there only like 5 beaches in Los Angeles? What's the point of this? Well, my contrarian observer, you are correct. But the point of this is to help explain which beach is best for the type of beach day you are trying to have. For instance, are you a tourist trying to soak up the Los Angeles experience? Are you a Southern California local looking for a chill beach day with your family? Are you an attractive person trying to show off your hot bod to the people at the beach? Well, this list will help you. Number 5, Santa Monica State Beach. This is the quintessential Los Angeles beach. Tourists galore, sunsets from the bluffs, beautiful people doing beautiful people things. There's a mall that has almost been restored to its pre-COVID glory days. If you're looking for an all-day beach experience, including paying $30 for an unsubstantial lunchtime salad and going out to the club after catching some waves, then Santa Monica is the place. Santa Monica itself is a beautiful city with a posh, boutique-type culture that is super walkable. And I'm jealous of the people who live west of 32nd Street, but that's not what this video is about. This is about the beach. The main attraction of Santa Monica is the world-famous Santa Monica Pier, which was built over 100 years ago in 1909 to carry sewer pipes beyond the breakers. And we're just swimming in that water. There are actually 2 piers on the Santa Monica Pier, which I didn't know before researching this video, but if you Google image search Santa Monica Pier, it's obvious. The second one, Pleasure Pier, was built by Charles I.D. Loof and his son Arthur, and is now on the National Register of Historic Places. Charles was a craftsman who hand-carved several carousels. The pier is cool to see for about 7 minutes. It is overrun with tourists and teenagers ditching class. The main attraction of the pier is the arcade where you can show off your mini basketball shooting skills, or the solar-powered Ferris wheel if you're not afraid of dangling hundreds of feet above the ocean. On the sand, there are some really solid lounging spots. The sand is soft. The waves are decent. There is the one and only California Incline, the birthplace of beach volleyball and the physical fitness boom of the 20th century. Santa Monica State Beach is about 3 miles long, with Venice to the south and Will Rogers State Beach to the north. I don't surf, so I'm not too keen on the good spots to catch a wave in the city, but Santa Monica seems like as good a spot as any. I think surfers strategically try to keep the best spots on a need-to-know because they don't want a bunch of yokels crowding the breaks. South of the pier are some ring gymnastic type equipment that are fun to challenge your friends to do. There is also some really beautiful architecture sitting on the other side of the boardwalk, like the Hotel Casa del Mar. The city itself is level with the beach along the south side of the pier, but north of the pier, things are a little less chaotic, and Santa Monica City overlooks the beach. Those bluffs are an excellent place to have a picnic or watch a sunset. Number 4, Malibu Lagoon State Beach. Malibu, besides being a great song by Miley Cyrus, has some of the most expensive real estate in all of Los Angeles County and therefore probably the world. That's because it feels like you are isolated from the chaos of Los Angeles City, surrounded by beautiful hiking in the Santa Monica Mountains, yet you are still a short drive away from the happenings of the city. Malibu Lagoon State Beach is one of only like 8 beaches in Malibu, but I chose the lagoon because it's probably the most accessible beach from Los Angeles, and it is right by the pier. Malibu Pier is hands down the best pier in Los Angeles County thanks to Malibu Farms, the perfect place to take a visitor from out of town. It is an almost affordable restaurant that offers indoor and outdoor seating on the end of the pier with views of the mountains and the ocean. The Malibu Pier website says, "Come mingle amongst fishermen and movie stars at the most beloved of Los Angeles piers." But the fishermen don't want to talk to you, and the movie stars are on their beachfront properties. Malibu Lagoon offers 22 acres of wetlands, gardens, and sandy beach. Hundreds of bird species populate the lagoon. I won't go deep into the history of Malibu, but I'll just mention that it's long been home to the elite, rich, and famous. Interestingly, during World War II, Japanese military vessels were operating off the coast of California, resulting in light restrictions in Malibu and even along the PCH, which unsurprisingly resulted in several vehicular collisions. Number 3, Manhattan Beach. This was a really hard decision because the South Bay is great, but I only wanted to choose one of either Manhattan Beach, Hermosa Beach, Torrance Beach, or Redondo Beach. You don't really feel like you're in Los Angeles in these isolated communities, and they are all technically their own cities with individual school districts, police officers, etc., but they're part of Los Angeles County. The affluent South Bay is separated from working class communities by the 405. All of the beaches in the South Bay are beautiful, and one of my favorite things about them is walking along the boardwalk and looking into the multi-million-dollar homes on the beach and envisioning how great my life would be if I lived there. Manhattan Beach, like all of the United States, was once Native American land. The Egnovangas, Rancheria, or Tongva inhabited the area before the Spanish came and devastated the indigenous population and then sparsely populated the southwestern United States. The land was given as a grant to Antonio Ignacio Avila. These grants were given to Spanish soldiers to incentivize them to inhabit the land. One of the concessions of Guadalupe Hidalgo, the treaty that ended the Mexican-American War in 1848, was that the United States government would honor these land grants. The land was bought and sold through the 1800s, and by the late 1880s it had been sold off to developers. A couple of developers flipped a coin to decide whether the area would be referred to as Shore Acres or Manhattan Beach. It came up heads, and Manhattan Beach it became. Once upon a time, these multi-million-dollar homes were little 300 to 1100 foot shacks that regular people like you and me used to be able to afford to live in, although there was no gas, indoor plumbing, or electricity, so it was basically like camping. The city became incorporated in 1912, and there were 600 permanent residents living within the city's borders. The city was built on 50 to 75 foot sand dunes that resulted in houses cascading down the hills. Manhattan Beach became the hotspot destination it is today after World War II. Manhattan Beach, not to be confused with the Jennifer Egan novel, is a very aesthetically pleasing city with hills that give great panoramic views of the ocean. This beach ranks high on the list because you can get a little bit of everything. If you're near the pier, there is a vibrant downtown with lots of dining and shopping options. If you go north of the pier, you can find less populated areas and nice wave breaks that are great for surfing. Number 2. Will Rogers State Beach. We can't talk about Will Rogers State Beach without talking about the legend himself, Will Rogers. Will Rogers was king of the radio when the radio was the number one form of entertainment. He was king at the box office too. He was the nation's most sought-after public speaker and newspaper columnist and was a major philanthropist. And I probably wouldn't know jack about him if it wasn't for a fellow substitute teacher at the East Lake Correctional Juvenile Hall who was really stoked about showing me Will Rogers wrangling roping videos. Will Rogers died in a plane crash in 1935, and tens of thousands of people, including all the stars of Hollywood, filled the Hollywood Bowl in memorial of the legend. I won't go on too long about Will Rogers, but he was a cool guy who had jokes like, every time Congress makes a joke, it's a law. And every time they make a law, it's a joke. His wife Betty donated the ranch to California State Parks in 1944, and it became a state historic park. There's great hiking there. Back to the beach. Will Rogers State Beach is a little under 2 miles long, with a stretch of land to the north that is mostly houses and restaurants and Santa Monica to the south. As an LA local, I like Will Rogers State Beach because you can hike at Will Rogers State Park, then jump into the ocean afterward. Also, it is less crowded than Santa Monica State Beach, although it doesn't offer the same attractions. It is just a beach. There isn't much to do in the area except admire the homes in the Pacific Palisades. There is also an unofficial gay beach called Ginger Rogers Beach, which I didn't know about, but I'm an ally. Now, for honorable mentions. First, I would like to shout out all the other beaches in Malibu that didn't make the list. They are all great, and this list could consist of all Malibu beaches if you wanted a more secluded beach experience. Venice Beach. People might not like that Venice Beach didn't make the top 5. I like Venice Beach a lot. I think if you're a tourist visiting Los Angeles, you should definitely go to Venice Beach. I like to park near Oakwood Recreation Center, then walk down Abbot Kinney Boulevard, which is all chic and boutique shops, and then see the juxtaposition of the Venice Boardwalk, which has Muscle Beach, the roller skaters doing their thing, the skate park, and what's more Los Angeles than a skate park on the beach, and every type of person you could imagine in your wildest dreams. The history of Venice Beach is pretty cool. Venice was built up by tobacco magnate Abbot Kinney. Before the 20th century, Venice Beach was nothing but marshland. Kinney wanted to build a town akin to Venice, Italy, hence the canals. Kinney also built a pier like the one that's found on Santa Monica today. But Kinney died in November 1920, and by 1921 the Pleasure Pier had burned down under the ownership of Kinney's son. They rebuilt it, only to have it burned down again in 1924. How tragic to have 2 devastating fires on top of the ocean. Venice fell into disrepair in the late 1920s, and when oil was discovered in 1929, drilling became the priority of the town. The drilling resulted in clogged waterways and oil wells covering the area. By the 1950s, Venice had become known as the slum of the sea. However, Venice still maintained some of its appeal because of the cheap rent drew in European immigrants and counterculture artists. Some of the counterculture remains, but for the most part, rent is too expensive to justify paying thousands of dollars per square foot to have kooks living on your doorstep. Venice is incredible, but it's got a bit of a Times Square or Haight-Ashbury vibe to it, where you can tell a lot of incredible history has gone down in the area, but mostly it's just vagabonds looking for a good time and yuppies paying exorbitant amounts in rent to feel like they are part of a creative culture. I'd give Marina del Rey an honorable mention, but I consider it part of Venice. It is the largest man-made small craft marina in the world. I like Mother's Beach for swimming laps because there are no waves or tide, although the water feels a little dirty. After all, it's in a harbor and you're surrounded by thousands of boats. Dockweiler Beach and El Segundo are fine, but I don't like the backdrop to the beach being an oil refinery and the airport. Number 1. The best beach in Los Angeles. And I wouldn't be saying this if I thought this video was going to get more than 50 views. Is Playa del Rey. Playa del Rey's website refers to it as the last small beach town in Los Angeles. It is just south of Marina del Rey and the water from Bologna Creek flows to the beach, so the Playa del Rey website says, "Do not," all caps, swim in the water for 3 days after heavy rainfall. The Bologna wetlands are a unique ecosystem to Los Angeles, being one of the last remaining saltwater wetlands in Southern California. Playa del Rey is no longer the spot to surf. PlayaDelRey.com's Facebook page went on a bit of a frustrated rant about why the area is no longer surfable. I got a hold of Mike, who runs PlayaDelRey.com, and spoke to him about how Playa del Rey has changed over the years. He told me that it was a surf town in the 50s and 60s, but in 1984 there was a huge swell that destroyed the jetty and also damaged Redondo Pier, which has never been the same since. They put sheet metal into the sand to rebuild the storm drains and added a break wall to protect the gas pumps for the oil refinery. Every now and then, the waves are still surfable at Playa del Rey, but a lot of the surf culture has moved elsewhere. Apparently, back in the day, and maybe still today, I don't know, the surfers were very territorial, and people from Playa del Rey could tell if somebody was from Venice if they had tattoos because there weren't any tattoo parlors in Playa. Playa del Rey is part of what is referred to as Silicon Beach because there is so much tech industry in Playa Vista, but techies are mostly harmless, and don't like the beach anyway because there isn't any Wi-Fi. The thing that makes Playa del Rey so incredible is its laid-back, small-town feel. There's fire pits, soft sand, good vibes, and seclusion from the city. Sure, the houses nearby are still extraordinarily expensive, but the town isn't overrun with chain stores and tourists looking to take pictures. It mostly feels like locals looking for a chill day at the beach. The restaurants are incredible, particularly Bakari PDR, The Shack, which used to host an annual chili cook-off until COVID, and Moe's Place. If you go into Moe's, it seems like everybody knows everybody. The point being is that if you're like me, a local to Los Angeles and looking for a low-key day at the beach, and maybe grabbing a beer at a no-frills pub afterward, then Playa is the place for you.